Normally, this is what we call the cold open, but I made a joke earlier because I found out that Eric's air conditioning doesn't work, so we're calling this the hot open.
Yeah. So it's currently 79 degrees in this room.
Okay.
Which isn't terrible, right? But the humidity's been bad. So that's what makes it worse. And so this morning was the first day that I was going to turn on the AC.
Yeah.
And compressor's working fine. I, flipped all the switches. I basically unplugged and replugged.
Wait,
I unplugged it and plugged it back in, folks.
Let's not bypass the fact that when you texted me telling me that wasn't working, and I literally said to you, like, did you power cycle? You called me to be like, did you just ask me to turn it off and turn it back on?
That's exactly what I did. Because I was having client PTSD. But compressor's working. I flipped all the breakers. I'm pretty sure I just have a dead or frozen fan in the air handler. And we're trying to leave at 1:00 to go to Greensboro. And
What's funny is years ago, circa 1992, 1993, I had a Mac LC2, and I knew of a local guy who would like fix computers, and I brought my computer to his house, and I was like, of course my dad drove me, and I was like, my computer keeps freezing, and he's like, you should take it away from the air conditioner then. And at 12, I was like, I don't get it. And my dad's like, that's so funny, and I'm like, I still don't get it. But now
you weren't a dad yet,
right? I wasn't a dad yet. But like the idea that your air conditioning is frozen, and like the first thing that came to my mind is whenever someone says something is frozen, I'm always like, take it away from the air conditioner. But that doesn't work here because it's the actual air conditioner.
Yeah. So, called the AC guy. They're going to try and get here. I actually moved the appointment that I was supposed to have in High Point today because Amy doesn't have to be there till later. So hopefully we'll get it fixed today. I don't know. But then if they can't come today, it'll be Monday. And of course, Monday, I think the high is supposed to be like 52 again.
Well, it's 60 here in New Jersey and muggy and gross outside. So you're winning. Kind of. Been near.
Traditional vulnerability management is outdated, disruptive, and costly. Nodeware offers MSPs a better solution. Continuous 24/7 vulnerability scanning even during business hours with no network impact. Deploy it remotely via software agents and sensors, eliminating the need for extra hardware and on-site visits, saving you time and money. The multi-tenant dashboard with built-in remediation guidance and patch management makes it easy to identify, manage, and remediate vulnerabilities quickly, helping you better protect your clients. Visit atmsp.link/Nodeware to learn more. Helped makes it easier for MSPs to deliver exceptional IT support. With on-demand services and a network of reliable technicians, Helped helps you expand your service offerings without adding overhead. Fast, flexible, and built for MSPs, visit atmsp.link/helped and see how they can help your business thrive.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the All Things MSP Podcast. I'm your host, Droopy Dan. And with me always is podcast producer Eric Anthony. I say that
special name.
I say that because, like, forgetting the fact that we're recording this at a different time, the last couple of days, and this is the topic for today, is I have just been unmotivated. Now, the other week we did talk about, falling out of habits and getting into habits, but this is a little different, right? This is like, I got a ton of bad news work-wise. Everything's fine at home. We're recording this on a Friday, so it was like, I think it was Wednesday, and I got like 3 or 4 things in like a really short time span, like in the course of like an hour or an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I have just been trying to like come back from that and this is why I want to talk about this, because I think this happens to a lot of people, right? Whether it's one thing or 4 things or 10 things, there's always going to be something that's going to like throw you off your motivation game. And like, I remember like I texted a plethora of expletives to Michelle because she doesn't normally respond quickly enough for me. And I'm just like, boop, 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 boop. But she finally was like, what? And I was like, everything broke. Like, like everything sucks. And here we are like 2 days later and I'm not back at it. Right. And I can attribute some of this to like, I haven't worked out in a couple of days. We talked about that. I've been eating ice cream at night before I go to bed. Shouldn't be doing that, especially when I'm trying to lose weight. But like the question that I have is, what's the point in risking it if it's just gonna bite you in the butt? And that's what I want to talk about.
Okay. So this is a timely topic for you and I to discuss, because I think right now we are on polar opposites.
Good.
Which is good because we can bring both sides of the story, right? I literally am coming off
a good podcast.
I am literally coming off my first 3 days in like 3 months where I have accomplished 100% of my 3 to 5 top tasks for the day.
Sure, just rub it in my face.
Dude,
I'm kidding.
Look, I know, but look, where this comes into play. I have been I started running this week again. Okay. Right. It's the first time in like 5 months I've started running again. I've been religious about my supplements. I have been making sure that I'm getting good sleep. I'm tracking my sleep. I'm doing all of the things that a lot of times we don't realize have a huge effect on our mood, but damn, they do.
So real quick, the sleep thing is super important. I actually got a Whoop. I don't know if anyone knows what this is. It's like it's kind of like an activity tracker, but I got it specifically for sleep because my Apple Watch dies at the end of the day. I can't wear it to sleep. And this measures my sleep. And I'm feeding into the fodder with this one because it's like, you got 89%, performance on your sleep. And I'm like, what's that out of? Obviously it's 100, but like, I mean, like what's the metric that it's using to figure that out is really
right. What matters in that 89%?
Right. Exactly.
Because there are different types of sleep, right?
I'm sure there's some pseudoscience in it and there's, it explains it, but I'm too dumb to understand it. But so like I've been going to bed when the Whoop tells me, despite the fact that Michelle's still watching Handmaid's Tale, downstairs. So like that plays into it. And you're right. I bet you dollars to donuts if I was exercising this week and I wasn't eating ice cream, and I was back on my medicines, like I would probably feel better. But like I think what happens is, even with those things, and those things are really good because those release like dopamine and the serotonin your body needs and all the endorphins and the dolphins and the whales and whatever it is that goes on in your brain. I'm not a brain doctor. What I want to get to though is the crux of like being able to bounce back, right? Because like you can do those things. Yes, that's what you should be doing. And yes, I 100% should. Actually, real quick, I know this is going to sound super posh of me, but I happen to own an Apple Vision Pro because I'm fancy. And have you ever seen those videos of the people who play Beat Saber for PlayStation? Like they have the lightsabers and they're like, so there's a Beat Saber like game for Apple Vision Pro, but you're punching because there's no controllers. Right. And so like I found it the other day and I played it like once and I got like 3 minutes of exercise and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I might even do something like that. Like, and I've been going for a walk. I've been walking the dogs twice a day. I'm getting my 30 minutes of exercise according to my Apple Watch. But the question is really like, when you get beat up so badly, I got a rejection from I got a couple of rejections from companies that I needed to do work with that they can't or won't or whatever. I got a client who's pissed. I got a staff member who's annoyed about something. I got, email issues, whatever. Like, and then a server crashed or like whatever, right? Like when it all compresses in, it's very easy, I think, for us to just go, why do I do this? Like, what am I in this for? Like, how how much rejection could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck rejection?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just going to put it out there that one of the reasons I sold my MSP was because I didn't want that constant disaster, scenario happening all the time.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, it was right at the ramp up of ransomware, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and, truth in advertising, we never had a ransomware event where we lost all the data.
That's good.
I think before I sold, we probably had a total of 4. Okay. 1, we lost data, but we were able to rebuild it. So the customer was back up in a week. But after those 3 or 4, I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays you can put things in place that help, but there are going to be times like you had this week that you just can't control. There's no tool that's going to fix it. There's no customer experience journey that's going to make every single customer happy.
Yeah.
And sales is full of rejection. That's why it's so hard, right? Because a lot of people can't deal with that. And so I guess what we really want to talk about is how do you bounce back from that? And what I would say, first of all, put your own oxygen mask on first, right? Make sure you're doing the right things that we already talked about, the exercise, the mindfulness, all that stuff. But also for me, it's getting my shit back together. It's making sure that I am not overloading my schedule, that I'm calendar blocking, that I am organized, because that's how I got to 100% this week. Quite honestly, that is what did it.
Yeah. And I'm actually for my personal stuff, Michelle's gonna be away next week, and then we're all going on vacation. And I'm like, this is the worst time for me to go on vacation because I have all of this disaster now sitting on me. And I have to remember that the disaster already happened. And none of my clients are in danger. None of my clients lost data, which is fine, right? The disasters are all actually in my head, which is a lot of it. Because the rejections that I got from those companies that I wanted to work with don't affect me beyond, I wasn't counting my chickens before they hatched. I wasn't holding my breath. I wasn't insert some quippy anecdote here. It's over. It happened, right? I was courting somebody for sponsorship for Aces. They said no. I courted them for a long time and they said no. And I was like, well, poop. But it's not like I was banking on that money, right? I wasn't. Right. It doesn't negatively affect the conference. It only just doesn't positively affect the conference. It negatively affects my emotions. But
because you had goals and expectations.
Correct. But they were my own. I don't answer to anyone. And see, there's the problem is that the person who I do answer to, other than Michelle, is myself. Right. And to feel that kind of I got rejected by this company. And what's even funnier is they straight up told me, we want to be there. It's not budget. We legit do not have anyone who can come to Austin those days. That's it. It wasn't even a real rejection. But in my head, I was I'm banking on these guys. I definitely got it in the bag. And then they were no. And I was damn it. It hurts, right? But so what's funny about this also is I'm really good at calling the kettle black because I will give advice to other people about how to get remotivated whilst getting off the phone with them and then just crying on my couch. I've been doing this my entire
exactly
life.
What we're doing right now, by the way.
Exactly what we're doing right now. Why do you think I do the podcast? Just to air my dirty laundry. And so there's 2 books I recommended to someone else. One of which is The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Manson, I
Yep.
think is his name.
Great book.
Great book, but I haven't read it in a while. I have read it. I haven't read it in a while, and I'm not really big on rereading self-help books.
Really?
To be honest, it's hard enough for me to read a book generally. Like I literally, you don't see it on camera, but like I have a bookshelf there loaded with books that I've just never read. I bought books. I buy a lot of books. I don't read books.
And I know we're getting a little off topic here, but it is actually on topic because I think listening and reading can help with mindfulness, period.
Sure.
But is there a difference for you between reading and listening?
Yeah, I could do an audiobook, but I'm not in the car enough. Like I can't do an audiobook while I'm working because then I'll start typing the words I'm hearing. It's the same reason why I can only listen to the audiobook while I'm driving. The thing is I only really drive. I drive to Starbucks and back from Starbucks. That's it. Like during the week. Because like,
what about walking the dogs?
I've thought about that. I should do it while I walk the dog. The thing is, like, once the dogs are ready to go, I'm never in the mindset to be like, where are my headphones? Right? Like, it's not. I haven't put all that together yet. And also, this week, going back to weather, this is the first time in a long time that it hasn't been like ridiculously cold outside. So, like, once it's warmer out and I'm capable of using my phone without having like 4 pairs of gloves on, it's a lot easier for me to remember to like put something else on. Right. So I'm not, and I know what you're thinking at home. Oh, he's just making excuses. Yeah, you're right. I am like, I'm making excuses. That's
100%. Because this is one of those things where you can set yourself up for success because you can go find the AirPods, you can put them in your ears, and you can start the book before you ever put the gloves on.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%.
That's hard.
100%. I'm not denying that, right? Like I am 100% making excuses here with all of this. But so the reading audiobook thing, I should be better at that. But the subtle art of not giving an F, I think, is a great book, and I think it's one of those where it teaches like. It teaches just the ideals of like, I'll put it bluntly, getting over it. Like you have to understand, like on an emotional scale, getting rejected from the company that rejected me for ACEs, it's not that big of a deal. Like it really isn't. Like it was a hit, and it was 3 days ago, and I felt like, woe is me. But that's only because it was compounded by the hit from another company and the rejection from this customer, like this problem with this customer and this other thing. It's the compounding part. But if you really, and this is kind of like, I want people to take this away, is like, if you really think about what's demotivating you and you break it down into smaller pieces, it's so much easier to get over it. Right? It's the same thing when you're stressed and you have too much work. This is what I tell Michelle all the time. Like, she's so much to do. I'm like, let's just make a list of all the things you have to do and like break it down. And like, we had that time boss guy on a while back, right? I think his name was Andrew. And he told me that what I had said was right? Like, write down all the items and how long it's going to take or whatever it is, right? It's the same thing. If I take this day of paint, my very bad, no good, horrible day is what we're calling it, right? And I break it down to like its core components, like what really happened that day. None of it was bad. It was just that it was 5 or 6 things in the course of an hour and a half. And like humans aren't built for that in 2025. Oh, my Starbucks showed up. This is what happens when we record early. You see me with a full 30 ounces of unsweetened black tea.
I haven't even started because the whole AC thing. I haven't even started. I made my coffee and haven't even started on it this morning.
We'll take a coffee break like Network Chuck does in all of his videos.
Yeah.
Sorry.
By the way, Mark Manson, who wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, also wrote 2 other books, one of which I had not heard of. The one that I had heard of is Un-F Yourself. That's also a very good book. Ooh, if you haven't read it. I haven't read that. Because again, put your own oxygen mask on first, right? So start with you and then not worrying about other people. But then he's got a third book called Everything is Effed, a book about hope. And I think, I mean, I'm telling you right now, I'm putting that one in Audible tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I love the other books. And if this one is any part as good as the other ones, it's going to be great.
I heard they're turning The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up into a movie, which I don't understand how that's gonna work. Is that gonna be like when they turn The Secret into a movie?
Probably.
Yeah.
Although, you know what, there's probably a lot of opportunity for them to make that into a book and make it funny and useful at the same time.
Wait, right? Turn what into a book?
The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F.
It already is a book.
I mean, sorry, the book into a movie.
I thought you meant like the book.
The heat's getting to.
He's getting to. I thought you were like the book will turn into a movie, and then they'll take the movie, and they'll turn it back into a book because they'll change it because like Leonardo DiCaprio is now in the movie or some ish like that.
That is just too meta for me this morning. I'm sorry.
True story. Wait, true story. Side note. Remember the movie Hackers from like the 1990s?
Yeah,
of course you.
I cannot forget that movie.
When I was in high school, in our like high school library, there was a Hackers book. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I start reading it. And it's literally a book of the movie.
Interesting. So I'm going to do something here that we haven't done in a while. And that is I'm going to test to see who's actually listening to the podcast all the way through because, you know, drop off is a thing. And if you are listening to this, and you are one of the first 3 people to reach out to me directly and tell me that you watched this part of the podcast, I'm going to send you these 3 books.
That's awesome. See, we care about you, the audience. We want you to be motivated too. I think at the end of the day, you know, I can't stop thinking. Hold on, I can't stop thinking about every time you say "put your oxygen mask on before you." I can't stop thinking about Fight Club, because they swap out the safety cards in that movie, like as part of the thing. By the way, crazy Fight Club theories on my other podcast, All Things Fight Club, coming to podcast systems soon. No, but at the end of the day, I think what it is like, you know, a bad day can throw you off your game, but we as humans need to be able to have systems in place to not stop those bad days from happening, but to stop those bad days from bringing us down for multiple days or potentially weeks. Much like you have systems to prevent malware, and you probably have more than one, and because you have your, you have your firewall doing IDS, and then you have probably you probably have the software firewall on your computers, and you have Malwarebytes and Microsoft Defender for endpoint and all these things, and it all logs back into your SIEM so you can see what's going on at all times. Like much like a computer system, we have to do that same thing as humans to be able to prevent these kind of things from taking us down. And again, I'm calling the kettle black because I woke up this morning and I could have come downstairs and worked out, but instead I just lied in bed. Even Michelle was like, "You're not going to go work out?" And I was like, ugh. Like it's like, I guess the first step would be recognizing. The second step would be podcasting. And then the third step would be like getting out of it.
So I'm just going to throw a hack in here, right? Because this is one that I've used in the past and it does work for me. And I think with everybody, you know, having the dopamine addiction to your phone, right? One of the things that has worked for me is I'll actually leave my phone somewhere else in the house so that I actually have to go get it. And if I'm trying to motivate myself to, say, exercise, I will just put my phone by my shoes. And I'll go ahead and put a pair of socks by the shoes so that everything is ready to go. And I don't have to really think about it. I'm already being motivated by my addiction to the phone. Right. And that drives me to the shoes. And then it's very low friction to get into the shoes and get out the door.
I like that. Yeah. Setting up yourself like little hacks like that to get going. I mean, my gym is right there. My weights are right there. I'll probably try to do a couple curls once we're done recording this today, and like try to get some energy back in. But also, I think talking, just if you guys haven't figured this out by now, doing this podcast with Eric is just my therapy, right? Like talking about this has allowed me to recognize just how dumb I've been being for the last couple of days. And I'm not going to say that like I'm cured and like everything's great, because it still sucks. And I still have to now put in extra work to make up or attempt to counter the loss that I was hoping to get for hitting that goal, right? Because again, it's not a real thing. It never existed in the first place. So, taking a hit needs to be, instead of, and again, I know what I'm saying, and I know it's hard. Taking a hit can't be demotivating. It has to be you have to be able to take a hit to motivate you to burn brighter and to do more.
So have you ever experienced, because I have, when something really bad happened, right? And it just drove you to do more?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it happens to me all the time. So if you look at those situations and then you look at the situations where we react completely the opposite, we have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what makes the difference between driving harder because of a bad day or going completely, lay on the couch mode.
I think
it happens.
I think it's okay. Obviously, it's different for everybody, right? But I think it's the amount of bad stuff that's happening in such a because like that's what threw me off, right? Like if I got the rejection from this one company and like that was it, I would have been fine probably. But like it was because I got like 3 or 4 things in a row in a short time span. I think the weather here being super gloomy has not been helpful. And granted, I'm in the basement, but like I can still tell that it's gray out or whatever. It happens to be starting to get sunny today, which is nice. It's a little cloudy, but and this happens to everybody. It's that seasonality, especially if you live in the Northeast, right? It's that seasonality. Like everyone's like, oh, like it's really funny because like a friend of mine hit me up the other day and they were like, hey, seasonal depression season's over. It's good to see you again. I was like, come on, man. Right? Because it's April already, and this is still March weather. Like it's supposed to be warmer by now. Like I think it's the compounding, right? I think if it's one thing, it's obviously a lot easier. And that's where we have to do things like hack our body or like hack our productivity or find a way to like talk it out when because there's that threshold of like, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to work harder. Everything sucks. I'm not doing anything ever again. Like before you get to that mark, you have to, and this is different for every person, find an outlet, right? Like I text, my business coach Melanie, or I'll text you, call you, or I'll call my friend Tim. It's these things that we have to do, because opportunities lead to good luck, right? That like people think like, oh, that guy's business is doing great because he's so lucky. No, he's making opportunities because he's not letting himself get down. He's working on finding those opportunities. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's another great point, because the more opportunities you create, the more rejections you're going to have and the more failures you're going to have. Now, you're also going to have more successes because you just have more numbers, but realize that those successes are going to come at the expense of additional rejections and failures.
Right. The more the more games you play, the more chance of not winning. The less games you play, no, the statistics.
No, it goes both ways.
It goes both ways.
The more times you play, the more chances you have to win, but also the more chances you have to lose.
Right.
But the net effect is you win more.
Correct. And if you play less and you lose more because you stop playing, like you won't bounce back is what I'm trying to get at somehow. I was trying to bring in my son's lacrosse metaphor. It didn't work.
Well, it's kind of like gambling though, because the house is always going to win in the long run.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So for you to have X number of wins, you're going to have Y number of losses. And so you have to play enough to get wins. Because here's the thing. In what we do, a lot of times the losses don't cause a negative effect like gambling does, right? The
Yeah.
net effect when we lose is zero rather than negative $200. But when we win, it's a $2,000 a month client,
Right.
right?
Right.
So we can afford to lose a lot because it doesn't cost us a lot when we lose in, relation to when we win big.
Right. And it also depends on what you're losing, I think, also, right? Like, I've talked about this before. Like, back in the day, we built some piece of software and it cost, over the span of a year, I probably spent $80,000 building this piece of software that bombed. It just failed. It was a failure. And like, I get it. But when I say $80,000, it didn't feel like that at the time because it was over the course of a year, right? And I didn't feel like it was a loss because I did so much other stuff around this software, learned a lot, made great connections and all these other things, which helped spawn other good things later. But that loss, it was a piece of it. So what we're trying to say, if we're saying anything here, is like, yeah, Wednesday sucked. It's now Friday. Got to get over it a little bit, right? And I got to find a way to push through that pain and work on what is in my control of things that I can make work, and the things that I didn't gain from those losses, can I bounce back and make them work in a different way? Great point. I can't get the sponsor. Fine. You know what I did? I went out and I got 3 tickets sold for the conference. Right? It's not the same amount of money, but hey, it's a little bit of a win, right? And I'd rather take a little win than a complete loss and just sit and do nothing. So like, there are things that you can do to push through. Continue to push through. We want to see you push through. That's what happens. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up. If you've now made it this far, you've already gotten Eric's offer because you probably stopped listening 10 minutes ago. But do keep up on Eric's offer, right? If you've made it this far, send Eric a message. He'll send you Mark's books to keep you going. Tell us your motivation story. Leave a comment in the Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you see this post. We want to know what motivates you every day, especially on those bad days.
Yeah. And, join the Facebook group. There are 6,000 people in that group who have walked the walk, talked the talk, done exactly the same things you have, had the exact same successes and failures that you have, and are willing to talk about them. And if you're not willing to talk about it in the group, although you can post anonymously, I have left that feature on specifically for that purpose, because I know that there are things that affect us in the MSP industry mentally that we may not want to tie our names to, right? So you can post things like that anonymously. You can reach out to Justin and I. We're here and we'd love to, help anybody who's going through something. One of the motivations for doing this podcast is not just therapy for Justin, not just therapy for me, but it's so that we standardize talking about all of this shit that is not the technical side of this business.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't have said it any better myself. Check us out, facebook.com/group/all things MSP. Join it so you can tell us what motivates you and how you're feeling. Follow us, youtube.com/all things MSP. And we're on all of your favorite podcasting tools. Check me out, ACES Conference, acesconf.com, May 6th, 7th, and 8th in Austin, Texas. All Things MSP is a sponsor. Eric's going to be going to a whole bunch of conferences. Yep. I'm sure he'll just tell us all in the Facebook group. So make sure you're in the Facebook group. I don't do as much as he does. Check us out in the Facebook group. He'll find out all those things. Any last words?
Just that I think if you look at this, especially, and I want to talk about this in another episode, is if you look at if we apply the gambling metaphor to this, right? If you roll the dice and spend $500 a month on marketing, right? But you get $1,000 client a month over the course of the year, you start the next year with $12,000 a month in additional recurring revenue. Think about how much that's going to change your business, but you have to lose the 500 to get the 12,000. And so don't be scared of the failures, because you are buying things. They may not be tangible at the time, but they are working towards those wins.
There you go. That's it. That's Eric. I'm Justin. Bye.
Thank you for listening or watching the All Things MSP podcast. If you liked this episode, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, and consider subscribing to catch all our weekly episodes. And from your host extraordinaire, Justin Esgar, and myself, Eric Anthony, your humble producer and All Things MSP founder, thank you very much for spending your time with us. If you are not aware, All Things MSP started as a Facebook group and now supports over 6,000 members. We also have a LinkedIn page for those of you who don't do Facebook, and make sure to check out our YouTube channel for even more content. A special thank you to our elite sponsor, CoreView, helping you manage your Microsoft 365 tenants instead of them managing you. And thank you to our premier sponsors, EasyDmark, Helped, GoZinta, MoveBot, and Nodeware. And thank you to the rest of our sponsors. Without sponsors, we could not do what we do for the MSP community. Please consider checking them out. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of any employer, vendor, sponsor, or random taxi driver in the Metro DC area. Be sure to join us next week for another exciting episode.